No matter how hard you try, you can never outrun your true self. Satranic Panic is an LGBTQ-themed horror film from Australia. It was once again written and directed by Alice Mal McKay and Benjamin Powell Robinson, who teamed up on Carnage for Christmas, as well as T-Blockers. Check out their IMDb pages for the full listens of their work, but also, they weren't the only people that wrote this. Star Cassie Hamilton, who plays Aria, also had some writing credits here. And a few people that were in the previous projects done by Alice and Benjamin return for this Australian-themed film about a transphobic death cult that ended up sacrificing the wrong person. So now, Aria, played by Cassie, and Jay, played by Zarif. Give us Sid Sharif! No, that really doesn't actually work all that well. I think it's actually Zarif. That being said, I just had to throw a little bit of an MST3K reference in there because that's how I read the word, and that's just how weird I am. That being said, yes, these two team up because, well, it turns out Aria can actually see, sense, smell, and feel demons all around her. This thrill of evil is all around us. Of course, naturally, this satanic death cult just targets anybody that is LGBTQ, particularly trans people, much in the vein of the previous two projects that I mentioned and reviewed. And along the way, they find nothing to do with the Dudley Do-Right character, more in the pity, who's played by Lisa Fanto, who was also in the previous projects. And that being said, from there, we get a comedy horror movie with a few decent funny moments, a little bit of gore, and a little bit of karaoke. Not necessarily rock and roll, but we get a few karaoke performances. Okay, we get one that opens, one that's in the middle, and then one near the end. And look, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I appreciate Alice's style, and there's a certain flair to it. And upon seeing this being the third film of, Alice's filmography that I've seen, I appreciate the strengths. And there's a talent for filmmaking and a panache for bringing transphobes down to their goddamn knees, as they should be. Because if you're going to be transphobic and stupid and hate people for who they are, that's really, really the wrong way to fucking see it. You can hate somebody if they're a bad person, but not just because they choose to live their life the way they, truly feel. Live as their true selves. They're not harming anybody. It's not against any religion or any normal religion. It's just them being who they are. So, yeah, from there we get some good interactions between these three particular characters, a few other characters that get brought in, and really the plot is probably, I don't want to say the most sensible, but it's also the most cohesive narrative of the three particular movies that I've seen. And even though it's obviously, done on an indie budget, and there are points where I'm like, oh, that was a fun choice, I can appreciate the effort that they put in. And the performances, three lead performances, are fine. There are a few goofy moments, some for the right reasons, some for the wrong reasons, but it's an inoffensive movie. It does also have its points where it is going to absolutely throw the message right at you. And again, don't be transphobic and bigoted. Just don't fucking be that way. But there is a motive behind why this cult is happening. And I appreciate how the plot unfolded, even if at 80 minutes, and while this thing could have used a little bit of lengthening on some things, it also felt like a concept that maybe could have been a bit on the shorter side. Ironic for a film that was 80 minutes long. Still, decent enough for what it was. And I appreciate what they were doing. So I am going to get into spoilers. But yeah, let's see what Alice can do in the future. Benjamin did a good job writing. Cassie did a good job being a star and also contributing with the writing. Nevertheless, 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, Max was was a very big part of their lives. And then Nell comes along. She is actually a demon hunter of sorts that, even dresses up like a hotel maid to gain their trust, saving Aria. And she ends up falling for Aria. And Jay isn't so certain about this because they've already killed one demon. And there actually was a pretty funny moment early on in the movie where I thought they were going to have it where Jay was going to be infected because an old man that had been in the previous couple projects that Alice and Benjamin have done ended up having a weird laser demon tongue thing and got Jay's arm. Jay also is a comic book artist that is trying to get some projects off the ground, working at a comic shop, and he's talking about changing some stories around, changing an ending of a particular thing. Gee, I wonder if that's going to factor into the finish. Spoiler alert, it does. So, yeah, Nell comes along. A romance develops between her and Aria, but it turns out there's actually a particular crazy motive about all this. There was one scene that I didn't necessarily care for. It was an overly long scene with three guys in drag, which that doesn't bother me, but the way it was acted, the way it was shot, the way it was laid out, and eventually one of them was revealed to be a demon, like, it could have gotten to the point a lot sooner. Like, I don't know. It was just off-putting the way it was filmed. Just something about that didn't work. But one of the demons spit fire. That was actually kind of cool. I'll say that much. And Aria thinks she sees her mom. And then Jay, by the way, ends up looking in some of Nell's stuff and realizes, hey, wait, this is a picture of a family, and this harkens back to something a little bit earlier where Aria was injected by a doctor, Chris Asmos, who has been in a couple of these other movies as well. You'll recognize him if you've seen all three of these. And it turns out that, well, this doctor actually is Nell's father. And after being separated, because you got to keep them separated, hey, Aria ends up handcuffed or trapped. And all this crazy shit's going on. And then a bunch of exposition is thrown at us. A ton. This doctor, Dr. Fenway, felt that he could cure transphobia, this body dysmorphia. I think that's how you say it. Yeah, you could, cure that because he had these feelings, but there is no trans. I'm all man, I'm all this, because he's denying who he truly is. I mean, you really shouldn't do that. You are who you are. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. You could be a bad person deep inside, but that doesn't mean, feeling this way, being this way does not mean you're a bad person. Be who you are. There's nothing wrong with that. But because of that, and because Nell led Aria and Jay right to them, even though Jay's separated, it turns out that Aria's going to be the sacrifice. Also, her mother does show up, and her mother basically ended up essentially being with the doctor, but not for very long. But the reason that she led her daughter there was to cure her, because she didn't want her daughter to die, but then also wanted her daughter just to be cured. And yeah, this is where the plot gets a little bit messy, where I'm like, okay, this is where like motivations are just getting thrown out the goddamn window. So basically, Nell and Aria get in a fight in a bathroom. That's not a euphemism, they actually do. And she says, I didn't mean to fall for you, but I did. And so what's the plan? Well, the plan is Aria's going to be, doing some stuff and, doing a karaoke act, as it were, while Dr. Fenway does. And while these demons are around, these demon-infected people, it's like 5 fucking people out of this whole goddamn thing. But whatever, Indy, it's fine. And he's going to read from this book. This book, by the way, and suddenly, Jay just happens to be there. He actually changed around the not Necronomicon, and yeah, there was a certain thing that he changed. So much so that the doctor realizes that he has to sacrifice himself. And then this fire comes around, and the fire effects, those were fun. I mean, again, it's fine, but nevertheless, changing, and it turns out, her true self and what's going on, put me back in my own, this kind of stuff, and gets dragged down. And these demons, that hate trans people just drag him down, and okay. And then all these demons, all these people disappear, because somebody had to be sacrificed. So I guess that's the end of the cult, some cult that was. And it turns out that Jay changed the ending, added a few pages, because why not? Because he's a talented artist and could do that. And nobody notices the difference. I guess you just got to read from a book regardless if the pages look different. It's okay. So everything's fine. He has his own comic. They visit Max's grave. And it turns out that Nell, by the way, had a sister. A sister that went away that became a brother. Gee, I wonder if you can guess who it was. It was Max. It was Max. That's who it was. Yeah, there you go. It's not a bad movie. It's not a great movie. It's decent. Has some neat little ideas, and it's worth recommending. And see how you feel about this and the other two that I reviewed from Alice and Co. So yeah, C+. Anyway, agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rethlin. I'll see you soon.